today's event is in remembrance of His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami, somebody who has guided us, who has given us a lot of time, a lot of sweet memories. And so we decided that on his passing, to hold a memorial, a time where we can all remember him, a time where we can reminisce all the love that he's given us. I wanted to say thank you to everyone that's joined, and also thank you to those that have agreed to speak. There have been so many people that we wanted to ask to speak. However, due to time limitations, we couldn't have everybody speaking for a long period of time. Each person will speak roughly for around 5 minutes. And I know there's a lot of people that may want to speak afterwards. And like I said, just due to time limitations, we won't be able to have everybody. So to just introduce not every person individually, but the people that will be speaking are those that were involved in the pioneering stages of Pandavasena, right at the beginning of when Pandavasena first started. So those that are speaking are people that have been people that I've definitely looked up to right from the very beginning. So please, thank you so much for letting me host. Thank you, Pandavasena, for letting me host this lovely memorial service. And if I hand over to Krishna Govinda Prabhu, if he's here, to start with a short prayer called the Mangala Charan. If he could unmute himself.
I'm unmuted. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you very much, Yakshama Prabhu. My obeisances to everyone. Please accept my obeisances. All glory to Srila Prabhupada, all glory to Guru Maharaj. Om Jnana Timarnasya Jnana Shalakaya Akshamatam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Tapitam Yena Bhutale Ayam Rupa Kadamayam Tatati Swapatatikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Guru Vaishnavam Cha Dhirupam Sagrajatam Sagana Raghutam Vitam Sam Sajivam Sadvaitam Sabhadutam Parishana Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishwantam Shah Jai Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagapate Gopishwar Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostate Tapta Kanchana Gaurange Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vishabhana Sati Devi Pranamami Hare Priye Panchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Eva Cha Patitana Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Charu Swami Iti Namine Sikta Jaita Supranita Bhakti Mata Rasa Putam Prabhupada Gata Prani Nami Bhakti Charu Padam Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prishthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Iti Namine Namaste Saraswati Devam Gauravani Pracharne Nirvishri Satsanyavadi Pashachadi Satayane Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasari Gaura Bhaktivinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Thank you very much for allowing me to speak. I know there's so many wonderful activities that we can talk about in our memories with His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami Guru Maharaj with Pandavasena. As many of you know, Pandavasena started in 1994, but it wasn't until 1995 that Guru Maharaj was very influential with the Pandavasena activities, and he was participating in many of the programs that Pandavasena organized, like New Year's Resolution program in 95, 96, and then the following subsequent years. And also we introduced the jamming programs every fortnightly. That started in Harrow, and of course later on in other places, Wembley, East London, Radhakrishna Temple in South Street, in South London as well. So many personal pastimes of Guru Maharaj I had in relation to Pandavasena, but I was hoping if it's possible I could speak 5 specific structures that Guru Maharaj had actually given to Panavasena members. Can you hear me okay, Yashimata Priya? Okay, I've just been told somebody can't hear me. I'll speak a bit louder. The 5 instructions are, the first one is to always remember Srila Prabhupada and to always remain loyal within ISKCON. Many of the devotees who got initiated by Bhakti Charu Swami would know that the 5th vow he would used to make was to stay loyal within ISKCON and remain sheltered within ISKCON itself. And this is very important because as we progress in our spiritual life, there are times when we do face challenges, and then there are chances that we may possibly go astray in our spiritual life. And that was the situation in the early days of ISKCON, and certainly it did happen to a few members of Panavasena in the early days who drifted away, unfortunately, to a different organization. So it's so nice to see, say from 1994, I would say the devotees who participated in the campaign for saving the temple, from that I would say about 20% have actually taken that initiative of initiation, whether from Bhakti Charu Maharaj or His Holiness Shivam Swami or His Holiness Bhadana Swami and many wonderful spiritual leaders. The second instruction is to always have a spiritual leader. Guru Maharaj would always emphasize about the importance about having a spiritual leader. Many times he wouldn't emphasize about himself as a spiritual leader, but of course, Srila Prabhupada. And the importance was that he was mentioning to take the authority from the DBC, the local DBC, temple president, the temple commander, and he even mentioned about the Bhakta leader. And within Padmasena, it's so nice to see the PS mentorship group. And you have different leaders and organizing the different activities within Padmasena. And Guru Maharaj would be very, very pleased with this because I know when you have your own children, they don't always listen to you. But Radhika and Prahlad, my own children who've grown up in Panavasena, they're happy to listen to their mentors. And it's really good that Panavasena are organizing this wonderful mentorship group and having mentorship retreats as well to allow the younger generation to cultivate a spiritual society within ISKCON itself. One of the important things that Guru Maharaj always showed, to everybody was love, care, and compassion. It was the emblem of, care and compassion to everyone, depending on no matter who you are, what age you are, where your background was, whether you were male or female. And I was very fortunate because in the early days, as I was involved with Panavasena program, we used to arrange a lot of programs with Guru Maharaj. We used to invite him to the jamming programs, which he would come, even though he had a busy schedule, if he may be only here for 3-4 days. And then also I invited him to Krishna Club to speak to all the children and the parents of Krishna Club. And also we organized a lot of children's sangha as well. The importance of that love and care and affection was shown by the way he gave gifts to everybody as well. He would never sort of leave anyone empty-handed. He would always give a kind gift to everybody. He would always ask for everybody's, well-being, Krishna consciousness, and the material life. What are they studying? And he would always remember everybody as well. So he was very, very thoughtful. Never sort of wanting anything out of anybody, but always willing to give to everybody so nicely. The fourth instruction was quite an important one. Although he may have not specifically said it to Panavasena programs, but certainly outside classes, he mentioned about preaching to the Westerners. As we know, when Srila Prabhupada went to the West in 1965, he specifically started a Christian consciousness movement with the Westerners. He called them the white dancing elephants. And it's important that we cultivate to the Westerners because it's not just like an Indian organization. So, and as Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu mentions in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, one who has taken his birth in the land of India, Bharatavarsha, should make his life successful and work for the benefit of all people. And he emphasized for the Indian community to be very successful spiritually in our lives and to preach this Christian consciousness to everyone. And Guru Maharaj would be so extremely pleased with Panavasena because you see many of the programs Panavasena organized, the different activities, the day retreats, spiritual retreats, away, open evenings, vacation shop programs. And it's not just the Indian community, there's a whole variety of cultured or different people of all nationalities that participate in these activities. And this is exactly what would be pleasing to Srila Prabhupada, and it's certainly pleasing to Guru Maharaj. So thank you so much for the leaders within Panavasena arranging us an environment where Krishna consciousness can be preached to everybody and not just within the Indian community. The fifth instruction is, we all love kirtans, that is the basis of our philosophy, Gavanam Kirtanam. And in those early days of 95, 96, Guru Maharaj would so many extensive kirtans, and that would go on for hours and hours, especially after the campaign was won. And those of you remember that Guru Maharaj would specifically take the mic and pass the mic to each person individually to recite the holy name, and everybody would be dancing in unison, chanting, no matter who you are, whether you are young or old, whether you could sing or not sing like me, but we would all sing Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And it's so nice within Panavasena, once again, they've organized so many wonderful programs, specifically based on kirtan. So, you have the kirtan mala programs, you have the retreats and kirtan programs, which is really nice. And Guru Maharaj would be very pleased with that as well. Just quickly finish off with a lovely letter by Guru Maharaj. It was written 9th of June, 1996. And this has shown another example of Guru Maharaj's care. Although he was unwell, we arranged the cards to be signed up. I believe it was at Nilamani's house program. We wished Guru Maharaj well-being, for his health, which was quite poorly at the time. And he replied it individually to every Panavasena member. So this is a very important instruction to each Panavasena member. Now, the past, the future, it's like a legacy for the Panavasena. So how are this is Guru Maharaj writing in the letter, how are your Panavasena activities going on? Always remember that you have a very important mission to accomplish. You have become a soldier, now to fight against the evil forces of this world. You are a soldier in Krishna's army. Therefore, your victory is guaranteed. Even if you have to fight alone against the entire world, still you will win, because Krishna is with you. Jai Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami ki Jai, Srila Prabhupada ki Jai. Thank you. And I believe Prajumna Prabhu is speaking next.
Yes, thank you so much, Krishna Govinda Prabhu, for reminding us of those instructions that Bhakti Charu Maharaj gave us. Like you rightly said, Prajumna Prabhu will be speaking next. Prajumna Prabhu, if you could unmute yourself.
Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna. Can you hear me?
Hare Krishna. There we go.
Hare Krishna. Can you hear me?
Oh, can you hear?
Yeah, we can hear you.
I'd like to offer my obeisances to His Holiness Bhakti Charu Maharaj and my obeisances to everyone who's gathered here today. Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyeva cha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. His Holiness Bhakti Charu Maharaj was for me in the early phase of Pandavasena, the one person that really picked us up. He picked us up and he really gave himself to the group, the small group at that time. And one thing that really stood out for me, that when he was with the group, he was very youthful in the joy and excitement that he demonstrated with the PS. And that was very prevalent, especially in his kirtans with the PS. His kirtans would have, they would have a very specific tempo. There was a certain pulse and a heartbeat about those kirtans that it just resonated with every young person that was present with Maharaj in those kirtans. In 1995, just ahead of our New Year's Eve event, we had a program with Maharaj and at Nilamani's house, I believe. And at that program, Maharaj revealed that he had made badges for everyone. He had made a Pandavasena badge. And he then invited everyone to give out those badges very specifically. And, you know, he had this beautiful smile as he was giving out those badges to every person who was present for that program. And then after everybody received their badge, he stood up and he held up a badge, and he held up a badge in the air. And he said, now this badge goes to the best of all Pandavasenas. And we all just sat there looking up at him in awe, his beautiful smile. And it was actually more than a smile. It was an emanation of his love. And with that love, he declared that this badge goes to Srila Prabhupada. And, you know, he walked over to the altar and he offered that badge to Srila Prabhupada. And for myself, as I observed that and I reflected on that moment, it was a very special moment for me. What Maharaj did in that exchange was he connected us, he offered us to Srila Prabhupada, and that defined us even more. It gave us more energy, deeper meaning. It offered a certain protection and shelter because Maharaj himself was doing this. And as a group, we were already ready to take on anything for the mission. And that moment with what Maharaj did, it just confirmed that for us. He endorsed, go and do something for Srila Prabhupada. And we just felt so energized and protected by Maharaj. Maharaj was truly a well-wisher of the PS. And this phrase, well-wisher, has been coming up quite a lot as we glorify and remember Maharaj. And as I think about, you know, my own thoughts on this word, words like encouraging, desiring our happiness and our success, they define well-wisher. However, when we find how this word appears in the Bhagavad Gita, it really illuminates a deeper appreciation for Maharaj. For example, in chapter 1 of Bhagavad Gita, Arjuna uses this word, well-wishers. My well-wishers have gathered. And when we look at the Sanskrit word for well-wisher, Arjuna uses the word shurida. And later in the Bhagavad Gita, at the end of chapter 5, Krishna uses this word shurida, where Krishna says, Shuridam sarva bhutanam, that he is the well-wishing friend of everyone. Now, what's significant here is that shurida means intimate friend. Rid means heart. And Maharaj lived from his heart. And in his interactions with us, he touched our hearts. He invested his heart in each and every one of the Pandavasena, and that gave us shelter, that gave us strength, that gave us courage. And today, as I see not only the PS, but specifically the Pandavasena, with whom I had a very, very close relationship in the period of 94, 95, 96. And as I see those devotees in whom Maharaj invested himself, as I see their service and appreciate their service, appreciate their spirit, I want to pray for each and every one of them, each and every one of you, that we be protected with the spirit of Maharaj. And as a continuation of Maharaj's love for Pandavasena, let us live the blessing that he has given us as an expression of our gratitude unto his lotus feet. Thank you all. Hare Krishna. His Holiness Bhakti Charu Maharaj Ki Jai.
Hare Krishna. Thank you so much, Prajima Prabhu, for that lovely memory. Moving on to Ajay Prabhu. Ajay, if you are there, if you could unmute yourself.
Okay, Hare Krishna. You can hear me? Excellent. First of all, send my obeisances to Bhakti Charu Swami, to Srila Prabhupada, and to all the exalted Vaishnavas that are on this call. Thank you to the two speakers who spoke. First, I'd like to congratulate you because you both spoke about what I was going to speak about. So I'm a bit lost of what I was about to say. No, I'm not. It was beautiful. I'm going to speak about really my first interaction with Bhakti Charu Swami. And it was via a letter. So on the 25th of September 1995, I received a letter on behalf of Pandavasena at the time. And this is how it reads. Dear Ajay, please accept my best wishes. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. I am in receipt of your letter and pamphlet for your New Year's program in glorification of Srila Prabhupada. I'm very happy to know how the youth of London are working so sincerely to help Srila Prabhupada's ISKCON by campaigning for Bhaktivedanta Mana and doing so much to glorify Srila Prabhupada for his centennial. Your example is exemplary. Thank you very much for inviting me to participate in your program on the 31st of December. My initial reaction was to say, sorry, I won't be able to come. However, I was so touched by your letter that I will positively try to come. I am not 100% sure as yet, but I will try my best to come. I'm sure your program will be a grand success. Please convey my best wishes to all the devotees of Pandavasena. I hope this meets you well and blissfully engaged in Krishna's service. Yours in the service of Krishna, Srila Bhakti Charu Swami. So that really sort of started my sort of first connection. I think I remember some devotees had been to see Maharaj in Radha Desh, and they came back and they were like, Aj, what did you write in that letter? And I couldn't remember what I wrote in the letter. I think it was something Prajumna and I put together. And we, at that point, in those days, we faxed it, I think, to all the members of the GVC, because in those days we didn't have emails. It was all about faxes. So we sent it via fax, and then I was getting all these letters through. But what that letter did, it created a spark. It created a spark, and it also created a reality that we were on a journey to glorify Krishna's greatest devotee, Srila Prabhupada. And his disciples were encouraging us to do it, to push ourselves, to take ourselves out of the box, to try that a little bit further, because in a few weeks, we were about to do, you could say in Europe, we were about to do the first event of the centennial. It was on 31st December 1995. It would be the first event within our time zone that would happen. And we were just young boys and girls with a crazy brahmachari in front of us telling us what to do, and having the encouragement of Shruti Dharma Prabhu and Pranabandhu just keep pushing on. So really that started that. We had the program. It was, I'm sure there'll be other devotees going to talk about their experiences on it. It was, yeah, it was, you could say in one sense, it was almost life-changing for some of us to know that we could do that. For me, personally, the letter was a bit of an ego massage, but at the same time, there was something really special about it. And when I did finally meet Maharaj 3 days before that program, yeah, it's one of those sort of moments that I'm sure we all have when you meet somebody who you may have just been corresponding via letters, and then you meet them in person. And when Maharaj first spoke to me, it was a very special moment. From that, 1996 became an opportunity of service for Maharaj, for me to be able to serve Maharaj. We did the Kirtan on the Thames. We did the Abhay Charan video. So with the Abhay Charan video, there was a leaflet that had to be designed. And somehow I was doing all the flyers, and we created a leaflet that looked like a VHS cassette. Some of you may not know what I'm talking about here. So these are videos before DVDs, before Netflix. And it was a bulky video, and it was a leaflet, but we turned it into a cassette. And I remember I used to work at the Evening Standard, and we had some spelling mistakes. And it's 8 o'clock in the evening, and Prabhu the phones on the house phone because we didn't have mobiles. And he's like, Aj, there's a spelling mistake. Maharaj is coming tomorrow. Sort it out, design it. And I'm like, okay. So I got on the tube, went down to Kensington, went into the office, and I walked into the editorial floor, and they're all preparing for the daily morning newspapers. And I'm quietly sitting there, go to my Mac, quickly switch it on. And again, one of the editors walks out and says, hey, what are you doing here? You don't start till 7 a.m. in the morning. And I said, yeah, I couldn't sleep. And I quickly did this, got it all ready, did all the spelling mistakes, and then put it on this big chunky drive called the SideQuest drive, and which weighs a ton for about 1 megabyte file. And then we sent it to print. So Maharaj really gave me so many opportunities of service. I was able to do so many things. And I really remember those times. They were really special. Obviously, I would always see Maharaj throughout the years. And Maharaj would always come and say, how are you? How's your family? He always remembered you. He always remembered you, the people that offered some sort of service, no big or small. And that's always been sweet. Those letters that I have from Maharaj, I'll treasure. I probably spent the last week reading that one about 4 or 5 times. It was wonderful. Maharaj really encouraged us, and we've got a legacy to uphold, and I'm sure we'll continue to do that in the best way. So, Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, thank you so much for bringing a smile to all of our faces and telling us that lovely pastime. Up next is Dipti Mati Radhika Mataji. If she's there, if she could unmute herself. Dipti Mati Mataji, I can see that you're online. Just going to ask you to unmute and start your video as well. That might help with the technical side of it. We can't hear you. We can see you though.
Yashomati, she might have to be invited to unmute if you've muted everyone.
I have invited to. Is that? If you're on your phone, it's just in the bottom left corner where you can unmute. No. Okay, so what I'm going to do, just so that we can, while Dipti Mati Radhika Mataji just tries to figure out how to unmute herself, what I will do is I will show you a short video of Bhakti Charu Maharaj in his last lecture, when he was speaking to Bhakti Charu Swami's disciples on Maharaj's disappearance day, and he said a few things that really resonated with a lot of us. So I thought we could show that, just a short clip, just a few snippets from that lecture that he did online, which was very sweet. And then hopefully Dipti Mati Radhika Mataji's will be able to unmute herself. Okay.
Krishna sees that the living entity has become sincere, then he actually sends the spiritual master. The spiritual master who is present, who is going to guide him individually, guide him like a concerned, well-wishing teacher. And that process is established, process is presented, and by following that process, we actually make spiritual advancement. Spiritual master is never away. And that is a very, very important consideration. Like we have noticed when the spiritual master is present on the planet, some individuals, some disciples become very, very enthusiastic in serving him, completely committed to him. But then we see when the spiritual master disappears, they actually drift away. And that is actually a very unfortunate thing to happen. I mean, but it's a reality. Like if we consider Srila Prabhupada had about 10,000 followers, about 6,000 initiated disciples. But today when you look at ISKCON, where are they? Just a handful of them are actually here. And this is an unfortunate state of affair. And this we have to overcome. And the way to do that is by proper association. We have to remind each other. If we leave it up to individual to probe and tread the path, it will be difficult. And especially when this material nature is so strong, the allurement of the material nature is so strong, we tend to get carried away through this illusory energy of the Lord. And these are the challenges that we have to. He reasons ill who thinks that Vaishnava dies. Vaishnava continues to live through his Vani and through his commitment to Krishna consciousness.
So that was just a short video of Bhakti Charu Maharaj in his last lecture, reminding us that a spiritual master is never gone, and a small instruction for us all to take on. Hopefully, Dipti Mati Radhika Mataji, I'm hoping you're able to unmute now. And yeah, brilliant.
I'm sorry about that. We had a few technical issues on my phone, so my apologies. Okay. Please accept my humble obeisances, everyone. My obeisances to my Guru Maharaj and Srila Prabhupada. So I wasn't quite sure what to say, but I think I could only think what to say that was in my heart and mind over the last few days. And I was taken back to many years ago when I first actually can remember meeting Maharaj. And that was when I was very, very young, actually sitting on my father's knee in my home when Guru Maharaj had come to do a house program. And I was falling asleep on my dad's knee. And Maharaj was looking at me, just smiling. And I think I had a full-on nap. Obviously, as I grew up, I couldn't have got away with that. But as a child, he was just so kind. It was just, I just can't quite explain and find the right words, but he was very, very kind. And from that moment, really, he was always like a father to me. So my dad and him always had this thing where he would say, she's your daughter. And then Maharaj would say, no, no, she's your daughter. So up to the time I got initiated on that day, actually, my father said, she's now officially your daughter. So it was just such an amazing time, actually, when I think back. And, you know, I really am quite speechless of how to explain how I feel about that, because it is very, very special indeed. Over the many years, you know, as I grew up and we started Condolences and Maharaj, you know, I used to see him. And I remember one memory I'd like to share is I was running through the corridor, as you do, in the black t-shirt and Hanuman flag and the cap and the whole thing, feeling extremely passionate about, you know, a hunger strike or something, who knows what we were planning at the time. And Maharaj actually stopped me, because I actually didn't really see him because I was in such a rush. And Maharaj stopped me and says, "Where are you going?" And I remember saying, "Oh, you know, we're doing this, and I was trying to explain what we were doing. And I think it was very new, kind of saying we just started. And Maharaj said, "So are you now a warrior?" And I thought, yeah, maybe. And I said to Maharaj, "Yeah, I think, Maharaj, maybe I am." And he says, "Yes, you are." He said, "But remember one thing, you are only a warrior for Srila Prabhupada and Krishna, and you will 100% be victorious." And I remember you and I asking him, because I was actually really upset, because the man was obviously my home and we grew up there. So it was very, very sad for us to think that we might not be able to go. And Maharaj said that, "I can guarantee 100% you'll be successful. You just keep doing what you have to do. But remember that, you know, Srila Prabhupada and Radha Gokulananda and Sitaram Lakshmana Gauranitai, they are the ones who are guiding you and helping you, and that it's not you doing it." So that was a really nice lesson for me throughout life. And as life went on, you know, life has its ups, downs, sideways, and everywhere else. Maharaj was always that very, very, very strong person in my life. And I was actually reading over some of his emails, which I'm assuming we're all doing right now. And I saw that there was a distinct pattern throughout his emails. And I would just like to share that with you. And it was that whatever happens, it is happening for your ultimate spiritual benefit. Be fearless and be a good devotee. And actually, when I read through all the emails that he sent, they are all have that line somewhere embedded in there. And I have always tried in my own little way to try and live by that, that there are so many things that may happen, but, you know, to see it as your ultimate spiritual benefit has actually been a real gift for me personally. So yeah, I can't actually believe he's not here. It's not probably sunk in like most of us. But at the same time, I think it has personally given me even more fire of enthusiasm to try and live the life that actually he would want me to. And I always used to say to Maharaj, "Maharaj, what service can I do? I don't really know what I should do, because I'm a little background sometimes." And he said, "Your job, you know, preach through your job, serve the devotees, serve your deities," which he knew I liked to do. And he said, "But your number one priority is Radharani, your daughter. You must look after her first." So it was just a really wonderful, wonderful time I think I've had in the association of Guru Maharaj, not just personally, but just at a distance. And most certainly, I think whoever's spoken previously has said so many amazing things, and it brings me back to the memories from Pandav Sena days. The encouragement and the love and the support he gave us was just absolutely phenomenal, really, really phenomenal. And it is just so ingrained in my heart that I just pray and hope that we can give the same back to the next generation down, who are already doing such a wonderful job and making everyone so proud. So it is with a lot of gratitude that I said those few words today. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much for sharing those memories with us. Is Sri Radha Raman Prabhu there to unmute himself and share his memories?
Hare Krishna. Can you hear me?
Hare Krishna, yes.
Great, thank you very much. So I'm going to use the phone that Bhakti Charu Swami very kindly gave me as a gift to time myself. And it's something which I remember very fondly. This year has been a very interesting year. I'm going to use the word sponsor rather than guru. This year I lost two of my sponsors. First, obviously, His Grace, Shruti Dhamma Prabhu, and secondly, Bhakti Charu Swami. I first met Bhakti Charu Swami in 1994. And it's very interesting, Prajumna Ajay Prabhu would know this. When there was discussion about the 5 projects and what project they should give to this boy from East London that seems to be very fiery and just very challenging, they decided to give me the obvious project, which was Project Beam. And Project Beam was a project that was really a missionary one. And it's very interesting. Up to today, I would say I'm probably still following as the leader of Project Beam. And I tried to describe some of those. Maharaj, for me, he raised me in Krishna consciousness, 26 years. And I think the success of my relationship with Maharaj was that wherever I would go, people would be confused. They would not know who is my Diksha Guru. That is how I treated him. And more than a guru, actually, he was my master. And what I found is that over the past 26 years, he would regularly take me through different moods, purely understanding what my natural propensities are and the various skills that he felt I should utilize to help him assist Prabhupada in spreading Krishna consciousness. And one of the first things he said to me, I remember this very clearly, he said to me, don't be idle, don't be lazy, always be innovative, keep yourself challenged. And once you create a comfort zone, leave it. And it's very interesting because Maharaj did that exact same step to end his leader. He left his comfort zone and he went straight to the battlefield, just like Bhishma, carrying Krishna with him at all times and all moments. And this mood then took me clearly into forming various services for the Sena. I was in the Sena from 1994 to the year 2000. And some of those who were partnering with me on this particular project, Maharaj directly asked me that along with trying to preach our philosophy to the youth, do the same to adults as well. Because in doing so, you then enhance your understanding of Krishna consciousness. You become a much more better preacher. And then he said, no, go and preach to the community. So as 15, 16-year-olds, we would go to various temples. We would actually host community programs, not only youth programs. And in this way, Maharaj regularly would guide and direct our various activities. After a few years of doing temple preaching, I mean temple preaching as an outside ISKCON temple preaching and youth preaching, he then installed a different mood. And he said to me, I now want you to become a scholar. And I said, look, I don't really know much about scripture and Sanskrit. And he said to me something very interesting. He said to me that, do you know, I learned Sanskrit by reading Bhagavad Gita. Give it a go. And 2 years later, I said to Maharaj, it worked. I learned Sanskrit in the exact same way that Maharaj learned Sanskrit, through reading Prabhupada's books. And Maharaj said that is why he transliterated the words into English, not just for fashion or to demonstrate his expertise. It was actually so that his devotees can learn the language. And one of the other projects that Maharaj gave me was he said to me to write books. And I think Ajay Prajumna, you remember at the end of Krishna, in the year 2000, we published our first ever Pandav Sena Sanskrit book, which was the Ved Amrit Vindavaha, wherein we extracted very esoteric and unknown verses from the scriptures to prove that Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is the incarnation of Godhead. And also how ISKCON is being predicted in scripture. And no doubt, like Shruti Prabhu would say, and Bhakti Charu Swami would say, they want to create an ISKCON, and there is an ISKCON in the spiritual world. So that type of mood Maharaj kept installing in me, and it was something that I'm always so very grateful for. There came a time where he said to me that as the Avanti schools start creating their institutions and they start having deities, we need some priests, some Brahmins to perform the ceremonies. So then he encouraged me to go and learn Archana. And, again, I said to him, again, I'm just a Western-born Indian. I don't really know about all these rituals. And he said to me, do you know what? You learned this in your previous life. So if you start this, you pick it up very quickly. Again, I had no belief in him. 1 year later, I said to Maharaj, well, it seems like it came very natural. And again, it was something that I felt constantly. He was very directly guiding me. And then having, actually, I have to admit that one of the most beautiful times in my Archana worship of Bhakti Charu Swami, and I felt very privileged for him many times to call me his Brahmin. And it was something that resonates in my ears whenever I think of him. And it's something that I hold so proud and dear to me that I was able to form that service for him. Some of you may know, you would know in 2013, Maharaj was so excited when we attempted to create fire from mantra. And that moment in that tent in 2013, when myself and our team churned the Arani mantra and Agadi manifested, you might remember, he went, Jai. He was the only person out of 500 people who became so excited that his disciples, his devotees, his followers did what Prabhupada said in the books. And these are some of the moments that I felt so privileged to have had that direction, guidance from him, and also clearly the offering to him as well. Many years went by, and just like Krishna Govinda Prabhu said, that Maharaj then wanted us to do corporate preaching. And in fact, in 2011, my corporate preaching that I began was because he initiated that in my heart. And he said to me that, you know, we need to reach out to people just even outside that come to the temples. And we need intelligent people. We need CEOs. We need lawyers. We need bankers. We need government officials. We need prime ministers. It is not just about the common person. KC is for everybody. And if you don't do it, it's not going to happen. If you just sit down in a temple, in a comfort zone, it will not happen. And Maharaj is very heavy and very direct that this is what Prabhupada wanted. So Maharaj very clearly guided how we should do these programs. And nobody said, never compromise. Repeat what Krishna says. Don't plagiarize. Directly repeat and you see what happens. It's a science which existed for thousands of years and it's already in everyone's heart. Just bring it out. And it was such a privilege to then start that. And again, it was something that I had no idea how to do. No one done it. But Maharaj knew how to initiate new projects. He was innovative. He was creative. He never stuck in his comfort zone. And that is something which I would see regularly in his own lifestyle. And with Maharaj, I had the fortune, like you mentioned, when emails did come around, the two emails that I'm always going to remember is the first email that I wrote to him, which was about me taking initiation from Madhanath Swami, and how he very clearly explained to me that actually Guru is one, whether it's Madhanath Swami or himself. And then from his blessings, I took my initiation, and he always reminded me that I'm also your spiritual master, and I treated him just like my dearest spiritual master. And my last email was on the 31st of March, 2020, where having gone to Africa, South Africa with Maharaj, and he was so eager that some of us should actually become influential in society, he gave me a new mission. And he said to me, why don't you become the CEO of HSBC? Why don't you go and lead an organization? Why don't you go and do something for society and bring them to Krishna? So on that 31st of March, Maharaj gave me his joy. He expressed his joy of becoming a global managing director, delegate of the CEO at HSBC. And it's all through Maharaj's blessings that I've managed to progress in my career once again because of his direction. So I don't know what it means to not have Maharaj in my life. And I don't think any of us do. When you saw Maharaj come on a few moments ago, I'm sure you felt he's on this Zoom call and he's speaking to us. And the moment we think of him, he'll be accessible to us. It's very difficult to not have his physical presence, but like you said, Maharaj has very clear instructions on how we should preach this movement, how we should preach the message of his Guru Maharaj. And it's something that I would never forget to do. And I think Maharaj went through the same that all of us are going through today. And this is how I would like to end. When Prabhupada left, can you imagine the state of Bhakti Charu Swami, of Tamakrishna Maharaj, of Jayapatak Swami? They felt, how are people going to come to Krishna consciousness? They had to step up. They had to decide that we're going to bring that buzz back into ISKCON, the buzz that Prabhupada had when he walked into a temple and devotees became so enthusiastic, we will bring it back. And they did that, which is why we all felt the same buzz when Maharaj was present. We thought Prabhupada was there. We thought Bhaktisiddhanta was there. And with Maharaj's departure physically, my only meditation has been, how do we now recreate that buzz? How do I step up to assist him in recreating that buzz? And I think that's a common goal that all of us will have today. Thank you so much for this opportunity. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Sri Radha Raman Prabhu. I'd like to invite Dina Krishna Prabhu to speak next.
Om Agyantimirandasya Gyananjana Shalakaya Chakshon Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktarinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. I just wanted to say a few things, a few instructions that I received during the Sena days. Once I went up to Guru Maharaj with Sri Radharaman Prabhu. This was at Sandipan's old house in Southall. And Guru Maharaj was given a program, then afterwards he was taking prasadam. And I said to him that Guru Maharaj, we're looking after all these new people. We're looking after so many people, but how do we keep them infused? You know, keep them motivated. And he said, it all depends on purity. Purity is the force. And if you're not pure, they will see it and they won't be infused. They won't listen to you. So basically, the main thing when you're preaching or you're looking after people is your purity. Making sure that your consciousness is pure, making sure that you're chanting as purely as properly as you can. And this will help infuse others. Otherwise, you won't be able to. They will see as a farce that you're pulling. You're just pretending to guide, but you don't know how to. It all depends on purity. He also told me there's 3 things that Prabhupada told him that a leader must have in ISKCON. To be a leader in ISKCON, Prabhupada told him that you need to have these 3 things. 1 is to be able to lead a kirtan. 2, to be able to give a class. And 3, to be able to cook. Guru Maharaj was expert in kirtan, expert in giving Bhagavatam, CC, Bhagavad Gita, any class, any different platform, any forum, an expert, the world's best at cooking. Out of all the sannyasis, you can see Bhakti Charu Swami was the best, So he was expert at all 3, kirtan, giving class, and cooking. He made us feel valued. Now, I want to explain that. When you're 19 years old and you're in ISKCON, you're not really recognized. You're just a kid, you're a teenager. Yeah, and everyone that is recognized are the big people, the big devotees, the ones who give money, the ones who do big projects. But when Bhakti Charu Swami would come to London, he made it a point in his schedule that one day he would spend with the Pandava Senas. Yeah, for one day out of his busy schedule, he would spend with us. Why? We're nobody. We're just youngsters, teenagers, trying to chant Hare Krishna. But why? Because he could see that he had to invest time in the youth, and now look at the results. Look at all the great personalities that you see on this forum. Look at the leaders that have come out of Pandava Sena. Over that investment, not only Bhakti Charu Swami, Radhanath Swami, and many other gurus gave their time and effort to us, to train us, to tell us exactly how to spread Krishna consciousness and how to be Krishna conscious at the same time. There's many things I can speak about, but time is short. But the last time I spoke to him was in March. I had email correspondences, but this is how loving he is. He found out that I was being tested for COVID. Yeah. Because Manohar Krishna Prabhu, our god brother, was in hospital, and Maharishi Prabhu, disciple Radhanath Swami, was in hospital, and I went to visit them, and so did Sutapa Prabhu and a few others. And then we were told they had COVID, because we didn't know at that time. The doctors didn't know. So I had to be tested, and I was having symptoms, some mild symptoms. I told Guru Maharaj that I went to the hospital and this is what happened. He called me up and he was very concerned, and he basically said, I'm praying to Krishna for your protection. And thank God I didn't get the COVID. And I wrote an email to him when I did get the news that I was negative, and he was so thankful. He was so thankful. But that's the last conversation that I remember hearing from him. So over the years, it's been over 20 years. We're actually, in PS, we're the most fortunate generation. We're the most fortunate. I'm not talking about the new generation. I'm talking about the first generation from the 90s, because we had access to all these great Prabhupada disciples that were on earth. And Bhakti Charu Swami is definitely one of them, who made us what we are now today, by his presence, by he coming to give us classes, by chastising us, by looking after us, just like a caring father and uncle figure. He gave us so much love, and he made us understand what it means to be a Prabhupada follower. So I'll just end with that. Thank you so much. And thank you, Sri Radharaman Prabhu, for organizing this whole thing. Hare Krishna.
Thank you, Hare Krishna. I was going to say a thank you to Sri Radharaman Prabhu, because I was told that you very kindly got all the speakers together. So thank you so much for doing that. But I was going to say it at the end. I'm so sorry I didn't say it earlier.
No, actually, it's Nilamani and Akash. Thank you for organizing this. I just requested that it would be nice for me to spend time with the devotees that have been created and nurtured by Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj and Nilamani and Akash, and yourself and everybody else that did it. So thank you.
Thank you. I'd like to invite Nemo Mataji to speak.
Panchakalpatarvascha kripasindhuvaivacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Nantakota Vaishnavinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj ki jai. So I'm just going to read a letter, actually. It's been so wonderful hearing from all of you so far, and it's quite an emotional experience. So I'm going to read a letter that Maharaj actually wrote to Pandavasena in Hyderabad. He wrote it from Hyderabad on the 11th of January 1998. To the Pandavasena, I'm sure many of you have a copy of this, hopefully, but I'm going to read it. Please accept my best wishes, all glories to Srila Prabhupada. When Srila Prabhupada went to America, it was a glorious period for this world. The Western world, especially the youth, was sincerely seeking a positive alternative. In their naive way, they were trying to transcend the barrier of matter and reach the spiritual reality. Therefore, as soon as Srila Prabhupada went to America, thousands of youth responded to his call, as if they were waiting for him. Due to their divine attraction for him, they gave up everything, including their bad habits, and surrendered themselves at his lotus feet. And Srila Prabhupada very expertly engaged them in Krishna's service. In order to fulfill the dreams of their spiritual master, young boys and girls set out to far-off lands. The Krishna consciousness movement started to spread in leaps and bounds, and the world experienced the greatest miracle of all time. Although Srila Prabhupada has disappeared from our material vision and we are not able to see him, he is watching us from the spiritual sky, acknowledging our spiritual endeavors and rewarding our achievements. Needless to say, he's very happy to see how so many of you have responded to his call, accepted his teachings, and dedicated yourselves to his divine mission. The New Year's Eve program was an extremely wonderful experience for me. I'll always treasure it in my memory. Every aspect of that program touched my heart and left a profound impression. I'm confident everyone present there that evening must have felt the same way and enriched themselves by that wonderful spiritual experience. The play, The Marketplace of the Holy Name, brought tears to my eyes. It was so moving that I felt as if I was transported to another reality where I'd like to remain eternally. When the curtain opened, the backdrop, so beautifully painted, brought vivid memories of Mayapur. For that moment, it seemed as if the holy Dham of Mayapur was suddenly unfolded in front of my eyes. Bhakti Nili's Bharatanatyam performance made me realize how talented a dancer she is, although she rarely gets time to practice. The English chorus was also very nice. I noticed many of you are very gifted singers. I feel fortunate that I have the opportunity to come close to you. At times I feel guilty that in spite of having the opportunity, I failed to avail it properly. Often I thought of doing so many things with you, but whenever I go to England, my schedule is so tight that I'm hardly able to spend any time with you. The memory of the boat trip on the Thames is still so vivid in my memory, and I can just transport myself to that time and place when I close my eyes and think about it. I wish that each time I go to London, I can spend time with you all in such a way. I hate to sit on a big asana and give a lecture. It's very nice of you that you listen so attentively. However, I wish I could be closer to you in a more informal atmosphere, like going on a boat trip or a picnic. I will positively try to make the time and take the initiative to organize something like that the next time I visit England. Thank you very much for doing so much for Srila Prabhupada. If there's anything I can do to serve you, please let me know. Your servant, Bhakti Charu Swami. So there are just a couple of things I wanted to highlight in this letter. You know, he talks about how the youth responded to Srila Prabhupada's call. Whenever Bhakti Charu Swami would speak to us, quite often at least, he would really emphasize the fact that if there was going to be any change, it was going to be the young people that would make that change. And that is something that he really saw as being a huge asset in Pandavasena, that we had, even though we were a bit of a, mixed bag of people from, different backgrounds and, different conditionings and very unknown in terms of the, Hare Krishna movement. He saw that we had a lot of energy, a lot of time to give, and that we really wanted to do something. And he would encourage us. He would encourage us no end. He loved the innovativeness of Pandavasena, which is still there. And as Sri Radharaman Prabhu said, which is also his own hallmark as a wonderful Vaishnav and pioneer in so many different accomplishments that he has, established and that will continue onwards, as he would like. These are just some thoughts. And I was also going to say that he was always very, very encouraging to all the ladies as well. I always felt, and I'm sure I'm speaking for all the Vaishnavis present, or all of the Vaishnavis who've had experience of Bhakti Charu Swami's preaching, his mood, his compassion, his humility, that he really saw the potential in each individual. He is very personal. And I just feel so grateful that we got to have that time with him in that early phase of Pandavasena, starting up, etc., and that he continued to give his guidance. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Nilamani Mataji. I'd like to invite Bhuta Bhavana Prabhu to speak next.
Thank you very much. Shitanim Pishtam Stapatam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupakatamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Utapadakamlam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagujatam Sagana Intampatam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Virgina Saitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakamvatamscha Hey Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dina Bandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namustate Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrisha Bhanu Sita Devi Pranamami Avikre Panchakalpatarabhyascha Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha Patitanam Bhavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. So, I just want to say thank you to the organizers for arranging this. And I was just feeling, what to say at this time. That we're missing one of our most dear, wonderful, powerful, and very needed spiritual uncles at this time. And I also want to begin by sharing my condolences to all of his disciples, well-wishers. I mean, it's always a very difficult time. And obviously, this is a time where he would always ask us to come together as a family, to be there for one another, to support one another, and to really bring that family mood. I mean, in terms of my memories of Maharaj, the first thing that really comes to mind is exactly that. And there's so many conversations I had with Bhakti Charu Maharaj, and so much kindness, care, encouragement, and support that he gave me, especially in moving forward and understanding more about the departure of my own spiritual master. I remember having a one-on-one conversation with him when he came to visit the UK. I believe it may have been Radha Vinod's house, but I'm not sure. And he was telling me that when the spiritual master is present, he told me this directly, he said he's a teacher. He said, but when he leaves, he becomes the invigilator. So he's watching to see how we've imbibed the things that he has taught us, the things that he has personified, that he has exemplified. I have incredible, very fond memories of His Holiness Bhakti Charu Maharaj. And I'll say honestly, since his physical departure, we've also prayed to him every day, because I see this great example in Maharaj of very deep Vaishnava care, extraordinary, like, gentlemanly attitude, such a refined, regal, aristocratic person, and just incredibly compassionate, caring, loving. And I'll be honest, when I look at his image, when I look at him speaking in videos, you could also see he was a very blissful person, actually. He was a very blissful person. You could really get that sense, which is obviously a sign of his incredible attainment in Krishna consciousness. A few years ago, many years ago actually, and myself and also Yajin was there, Yajin Govindia, he was a very young boy at the time. We got the opportunity to travel with Maharaj in Europe, so he invited us. So we were going to different countries in Europe, Germany, Switzerland, and so on, and he was doing different programs. And it felt like a spiritual uncle who had taken us under his wing. It was really wonderful. And also at the same time, it was a very maturing experience, because he spoke very, very openly, authentically, and just revealing so many things about how Krishna consciousness works, how we deal with the community of devotees, and how to help everyone to progress. So I was just in awe of his example, in awe of the loving exchanges that he was constantly involved in, and also his incredible Vaishnava etiquette and example, which I feel is so powerful because it brings everyone together. And at this time, more than ever, we really need that type of community where everyone comes together and has that loving mood of friendship and care. So it's a huge loss. And I remember also being with him when my own spiritual master was leaving. I walked with him from where he was staying to the temple in Gita Nagari, and we were speaking. And again, he showed so much love, care, and concern. And I guess all we can say at this time is we miss him. Dare I say it, at the same time, I really feel that his mercy and his blessings will be there even more in the future than it has been in the past, if we are able to remain loyal to his teachings, his example, and to continue to reach out for his care, his mercy, which we all need, severely need. I know that I need it, and to reach out for his blessings. So it's a great loss for us all, and we should be mourning. You know, an exalted personality has left this world. But we hope that we may meet him again at some time in the future. His Holiness Bhakti Charu Maharaj Ki Jai.
Thank you so much, Bhuta Bhavana Prabhu. I'd like to invite Chitti Shakti Mataji to speak next.
Vanchakalpataruscha kripasindhubhevcha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo. So thank you so much to the organizers for organizing this. I think we could speak for hours about Maharaj and not cover enough to glorify the kind of personality he was and is. Those of you who are, today's Band of Sena, who maybe didn't have so much interaction with Bhakti Charu Maharaj, I hope that what we share today inspires you to read his book, to hear his classes, because like Bhuta Bhavana was saying, he's very much accessible, perhaps in many ways more than he was before. And we've been asked to share our pastimes with him and memories of him through Band of Sena, or our experiences of him in Band of Sena. But he was somebody who was so personal, he stayed with you through your whole life. And actually my relationship with him got much more deep and close around the time that Bhakti Charu Maharaj was leaving, because he was so involved as an uncle that he felt like a second father. I mean, I was just thinking, hearing everybody speak, and before we came on, I didn't do this on purpose, it just came together like this. There were just some qualities that really come to mind when I think of him. When they all happen to begin with P. He was very personal. At the same time, he was pioneering. And it's very hard to find people who are personal and pioneering, because when Vaishnavas are very pioneering, we commonly see that they may struggle with the personal side. But, you know, like Dina Krishna Prabhu was saying, there was Maharaj's purity. And it's his purity that brought together the personal side and the pioneering side. You know, for me, he was Pandavsena. There is, you know, Pandavsena is a family, and no family is complete without a father. He was the first exalted personality that I met. And Pandavsena came alive for me well after I met him. I really understood what Pandavsena was about after meeting him. And he was like, you know, the personal side, just some examples. From the moment he met you, he would remember your name, he would remember your birthday. And this wasn't just on the first time he met you or for the first few years. I saw it with myself, I saw it with so many other devotees. He would give gifts and remember their birthday. You know, and his pioneering nature, he wasn't somebody who felt that the pioneering days were reserved for Srila Prabhupada's disciples or the 70s or the 80s. If you had a talent, use it to serve Krishna. It didn't matter what your talent was. And he would always tell us, you know, we follow a high-class philosophy. So we dress like high-class people, to represent Krishna and Srila Prabhupada really nicely. And I've been told I have like 1 minute left. So on the purity side, you know, his purity drove the pioneering mood and the personal mood. But the thing with his purity was he was also always very pleasant, very pleasant. I've never seen anyone be so heavy with such pleasing words. He never raised his voice. He did not use harsh words, but he would, because of his purity, when he was heavy, he would still be pleasant. And it was really, really powerful. He was just really expert guiding us, but guiding us with love, and we would surrender to him out of love. So if you didn't know him, please get to know him. It's with a heavy heart that we've lost a wonderful, wonderful soul, and he'll be dearly missed, but we really, you know, I also am actually using this time to connect more deeply with him, and regretting the times that I had opportunities to connect with him and I didn't take them. So please do take the opportunity to connect with Maharaj. He is ever present in his words and his bhajans. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Chitti Shakti Mataji, for sharing that. And as you mentioned, bhajan, we're going to take this moment to listen to a bhajan that Bhakti Charu Maharaj would very regularly sing. I'll be sharing my screen in just a second. And it's the Gopi Geet bhajan. Many of you will have heard him sing this a lot. I'm hoping someone from the team is able to paste the words up so that there's anyone that wants to sing along that can follow the bhajan.
Tavu kathamrita tapt jivan kobi bhiririta kalmashapaha amrita sapta jivana kovidhirita
So I'd like to invite Rasa Bihari Prabhu to speak next.
Hare Krishna. Panchakapatarabhas chakrapas nivayavachapatitina pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So I'm going to try and keep it together to speak for about Guru Maharaj for 5 minutes. Yeah, when you described at the beginning pioneers of Pandavasena, I think you've got me confused with someone else. I've been surrounded, those are the pioneers of Pandavasena. I joined many years later. But I thought, anyway, let me share some points about His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami. And Chitti Mataji actually stole most of the points that I was going to talk about. Thank you very much. So I'll try and come up with some others. Guess I wanted to highlight some of the things that I really appreciated about Guru Maharaj and the things that really hold dear in my heart. One is that he's totally chased Srila Prabhupada's teachings. He was completely devoted. There was not 1 ounce of deviation in him, to the degree to which he would make his disciples vow to never leave ISKCON. He always pushed that we should understand Srila Prabhupada's position as our founder Acharya, and he's really at the center of ISKCON, and it's his purity that's going to take us all back eventually. The second point was about him being so personal. As Chitti Mataji said, and as others have said, he was so personal to anyone that he met. It didn't matter if they were senior or junior, whether they were his disciple, whether they were just anyone, any random person. Even when we went shopping for caravans in Orlando, he was just so unbelievably personal with the person who's selling caravans. He's probably never going to see this person again, but he took such an interest and care in their life. One of his former secretaries was reminding me of, there was a period where a devotee who Guru Maharaj had never met that person, had no relationship with at all. They were going through some struggles in their spiritual life, and he was hearing what they were going through, and he was just like, this devotee, he needs some association. And then he invited him to come travel with him for months. And he went and traveled with Guru Maharaj for months. And he'd never met this person. He's just, this person's in trouble, and I feel like I can help them. And he just did that. So that's kind of what it's made. I understand all the theory that now he's gone, he's not restricted by his vapu, and we'll have internal relationship with him, and the theory is there. I guess what I'm struggling with is the personal loss. It's not a theoretical loss. Like, he was personally involved in all of our lives. He was like, I moved to Hong Kong. He told me we should move to Hong Kong, and then he said, I'll come and visit you in Hong Kong. And I was like, okay, sure. And he did. He came to Hong Kong. I mean, no need to come to Hong Kong. No reason at all. And he did that. His personal care. Like, my parents are from British Guyana in the West Indies, and he found that out about me, and he said, one day I'll take you to Guyana. And he did. He took me to Guyana. And I mean, again, he had no reason to go to Guyana in the West Indies, and we went together. So yeah, he's very personal. I'm running out of time. So I guess, as Chitti Mataji said, he was a pioneer, whether it be from boat cruises to starting businesses to opening a temple in 10 months. But he was a leader, and how he described a leader has 3 qualities. One is he provides the vision. 2 is he facilitates people, and 3 is he inspires people. And when you think about Guru Maharaj, he did all of those things. Even to when he's describing how he needed to go to America, one of the reasons is, how can I have my soldiers on the field? I need to be there on the battlefield with them. I can't leave them in the trenches by themselves. I need to be there fighting with them. That is what a leader is. So yeah, anyway, I haven't got enough time, but I'll leave you with one quote that Nishikant shared with me yesterday, and I just thought it's apt. This is something Guru Maharaj said. Now prove that your surrender to me was not impelled by material motives, but inspired by by love that fills the heart with resolute determination to follow my orders. Do not deceive yourself thinking that I am gone. I instructed you not to trust your senses. So do not trust your senses and think that I am gone. If you love me, then find out where I am. He said that in 1981 about the meaning of Yas Puja. Anyway, my time is up. Hare Krishna, thank you.
Thank you so much, Rasa Bahari Prabhu. I'd like to invite Druva Maharaj Prabhu to speak next.
Hi Krishna, can you hear me?
Yes.
Yeah. Hi Krishna, my sincere apologies. I'm on the Saturday night Harinam, so forgive me if the noise from the background. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutala Shrimati Bhakti Charu Swami Tinamine Vanchakopatarupasya Kripa Sindhu Vaivaccha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavyo Namo Namaha. I think a lot's been said about Guru Maharaj, and a key theme we all know how much Guru Maharaj loved us all. The first time I ever met him, you know, he, as a leader, when you're so compassionate and so loving, that shows just such tremendous power in oneself. You know, it's very rare to see. Bhakti Charu says, love is a verb. It's a doing word. And Guru Maharaj, especially in the early days of Pandavasena, he gave us so much time. He used to fly here at least 4 or 5 times a year. And even when myself, Sandipan, Dina Krishna, Navin Krishna, certain authorities, they didn't like us being so close or taking all the time. They kept saying, we're taking all of Maharaj's time. But Guru Maharaj was always adamant that we have an open license. He's very loving and compassionate. He said, anytime I'm in London, you're welcome to come. It doesn't matter whose house it is. Guru Maharaj also, as Nila Mani made the point, Guru Maharaj said, if something's going to happen, it's going to happen from the youth. That's why he gave a lot of time to us. I think most people know, I had a brief spell of being chairman of Pandavasena for about 6-7 months, I think it was. And I didn't do a good job, but we won't go down those roads. And you can become very despondent when you feel like you haven't really done a good job out of a service you're in charge of. But Guru Maharaj was always encouraging me, and he was saying that don't give up, carry on with your Krishna content, take responsibility in other services, etc. I remember when we went to Germany and Guru Maharaj was teaching us how to cook. He's such an expert cook, had been trained by Prabhupada. And it was so nice how Guru Maharaj, as everybody said, so personal. And he'll take us and show us how to cook, especially pizzas. And I went to Australia and Fiji with Guru Maharaj. And he would speak about Bhuta Bhavana and Sandipan Krishna. He would say, I'm going to bring them here to Australia and Fiji to inspire you all in the youth. That's how much Guru Maharaj never forgot us here in London. Wherever he went in the world, and I saw him in South Africa as well, it'd always be like Pandavasenas, you know. And once we're in South Africa, myself, Sandipan Krishna, Navin Krishna, and me and Navin Krishna were playing pool. And then we sort of thought, let's put the cues away when Guru Maharaj comes. But he caught us and he started playing pool with us. And in the beginning, we have to let our Guru win, obviously. But then Guru Maharaj was so good at it, he's expert at everything. He was beating us and he still kept saying to us, you're still letting me win. There's also the time when you see Guru Maharaj's energy levels. I was staying sometimes with him, and about 1 o'clock in the morning, he would be playing the harmonium, practicing and singing. And I'll be trying to sleep. And then in the day once, this was during when Tamal Krishna Maharaj passed away. It was an intense time, Guru Maharaj, and he was making a magazine on Tamal Krishna Maharaj. So 3-4 days we were with Guru Maharaj, myself, Navin Krishna, Sandipan, I think Devarishi was there as well. And we were all really, really whacked. So Guru Maharaj said he's going up to take rest. We all just knocked out. And then it was dinner time. Guru Maharaj was up before us. We thought we had got away with it. He said, how are you all feeling? He said, I saw you a few hours ago, all whacked out. I couldn't believe it. Guru Maharaj's energies, how, you know, he's up at 1 o'clock in the morning. He's on emails. He's so loving, so personal. Also, with Shruti Dharma Prabhu, when Shruti Dharma Prabhu in the last few weeks, when I was serving Shruti Prabhu, he had mentioned Bhakti Charu Maharaj has been such a wonderful friend to me and guide, you know, for many, many years. He took care of Shruti Dharma Prabhu and was a wonderful friend. And we know how much Shruti Dharma Prabhu has done for all of us in Pandavasena, Bhaktivedanta Manna. He's been the backbone. Also, Mother Kalangana called him the perfect gentleman. But anyway, there's so much I could say about Bhakti Charu Maharaj, but he loves all of us so much. It's so profound. And let's all look after each other, love each other, and keep Maharaj's memory alive. Thank you so much. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much, Druva Maharaj Prabhu. I'd like to invite Nemo Mataji to speak next.
Oh, Hare Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. My obeisances, all glories to the Prabhupada, all glories to His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami. As you may have seen in the comments, it's been so nectarian seeing everybody sharing such beautiful realizations and memories. And many of them have been said, the things that I was thinking of saying. But one thing I will reiterate from that is Maharaj being super accessible. He was always there for us from the beginning, even when we didn't know who a sannyasi was, what a sannyasi was. And I'm talking about 15-year-old me. We knew there was somebody holy and we offer respect, but he was always there and he gave us the time of day, even those of us who were a little bit raw and rugged. And that continued until now. Even 10 years ago, when my own spiritual master told me that he couldn't initiate me at that point, sent me to Bhakti Charu Swami because he believed, rightly so, that he would be the most perfect person. And Maharaj actually accepted me, but then defeated Jayadvaita Swami to accept me too. So I feel wholly grateful. But I won't speak much more of myself. I need to share this poem, these verses that Pradyumna has been up all night actually listening to the Gurvastakam, which was just released last night by Nadia Mani. So he has had no sleep, but he's been writing, and I just wanted to share it with you, and I hope he doesn't mind. O Master, my shelter, whirling in this existence of death, scorched and burnt, taking my breath, benediction cloud from above pours, to douse my burden of many scores. Reverence unto you, O Master, at your feet I sit, my shelter. The grace of Mahaprabhu you share, Krishna's time, a glorification, a prayer. Immersed in love of this holy name, you dance, cry, and teach his fame. Reverence unto you, O Master, at your feet I sit, my shelter. Your dawn call invites us to bow, service to Radha Krishna we vow, to adorn, offer cuisine and clean, their care for which you made us keen. Reverence unto you, O Master, at your feet I sit, my shelter. Foretaste brought for them to dine, their mercy served beyond the shrine. To render you much happiness and joy, we partake to purify with your loving ploy. Reverence unto you, O Master, at your feet I sit, my shelter. Radha Madhava, your life and soul, absorbed in their realm you stroll. Your words illuminate their glory, their name, quality, form, their story. Reverence unto you, O Master, at your feet I sit, my shelter. For the divine lovers play your verve, expert attention you give and serve. Amidst the gopis of the sacred land, you're so dear, your offering so grand. Reverence unto you, O Master, at your feet I sit, my shelter. O Master, O all glory, O dearest Vaishnava, we honor you as much as Sri Radha Madhava. Verses and noble guides sing this truth of the confidant of that eternal youth. Reverence unto you, O Master, at your feet I sit, my shelter. O Master, your mercy and your grace brings me to Krishna to see his face. Without you I remain lame, bereft, alone, forever to praise and live as you have shown. Reverence unto you, O Master, At your feet I sit, my shelter, your servant, Pradyumna Das. Hare Krishna.
Thank you so much. That was so beautiful. I've been asked to read this out for our final speaker. So our final speaker has asked me that I read this out. It is said, you should always behave like your spiritual master is around. So this person has tried to be as cheeky as he could in Gurudev's presence. So in that cheeky and comedic spirit, he's come to Naveen Krishna Prabhu's home and has gate crashed to see if he will be compassionate enough to speak, either alone or as a bad second place with him. So I'd like to invite Sandipan Krishna Prabhu to speak alongside Naveen Krishna Prabhu too.
So I'll share what he said to me. He said, he opened with "you sap," which is actually quite accurate. So Hare Krishna, everybody. Thank you to everybody. It's wonderful to see everyone here. Sri Radharaman Prabhu, it's been so long. Lovely to see you. And, you know, as I saw your illustrious self, I thought of some of the things that Guru Maharaj said, so I'm going to return to that.
I'll be missing you.
But, you know, I've heard all week that, you know, people were really looking forward to Naveen Prabhu speaking. And I'm sure he'll kill me or throw me off the balcony in a minute. But I'll give him a few minutes to prepare. I'll say my little one for now. I've really struggled in this last fortnight, and I probably wouldn't have got through anything that I would say now. So Sharma Kumari sent me one of my diaries from back when I was in Toronto, and I couldn't actually believe that I'd written it, maybe because I was more surrendered then. So I thought I'd share that with you. So I wrote this to Guru Maharaj. I said, "Dearest Gurudev, please accept my humble obeisances, all glories to Srila Prabhupada." And then I wrote in speech marks, "Yes, this is what I want, and this is what Krishna wants." The emphatic answer to my question. What a way to start the day. It was 3 a.m. I was, as usual, asleep, but 15 minutes later, my spiritual master turned my world the right way up in his service. This answer, wrapped in sweet transcendental potency, provides courage. I'm used to living with a loving family, and if not at home, I'm with you, and I lived in the shade of your loving smile. I woke up in Canada to an empty apartment. It was quiet, and when the day had been long and hard, I wished for some association. It is in times like these that your statement of, "Yes, this is what I want, and this is what Krishna wants," would give me hope. The grimace would turn to a coy smile, broken spirits would be renewed, and tears wiped. As I lived alone, I tried to adapt. I listened to Srila Prabhupada chanting. I listened to His Holiness Radhanath Swami while I cooked. And I listened to His Holiness Bhakti Govinda Swami while I slept. Cooking for one still remains a challenge, but waking to the holy name is soothing. Cooking to classes is enriching and enlivening. And chanting with Srila Prabhupada helps. Living your instruction from moment to moment has lovingly brought me closer to your lotus feet. When the mind doubts or when I fall into my own maya, I watch and listen to reminders of the great devotees in our prestigious lineage and try and remember their courage and levels of surrender and sacrifice. It is a very humbling and inspiring experience. To this day, I still haven't understood why you trusted me, of all people, to go in what was a desperate situation. I am very indebted to the level of trust and love you have shown me. A genuinely unqualified fool, but certainly a blessed fool. There have been instances of despair, joy, devastation, hope, and repeated Krishna miracles. And I have never clung so tightly to your lotus feet and prayed, "My dearest Lord, Please let me please my spiritual master, whatever the result. Sri Krishna has removed me from my family, friends, and an environment which is familiar. In return, the wonderful Lord gifted me with the spiritual jewels of learning to love and embrace the lotus feet of my spiritual master, where I am never alone, in your service with love. His Grace Naveen Krishna Prabhu.
So firstly, thank you to Sri Radharama Prabhu for instigating this. It was a very nice idea. I've been listening since the start. It's really wonderful to hear everyone speak their memories. I don't think I'll recall any of the personal memories I have of Guru Maharaj, just because, yeah. So I think one thing I would like to say is that before it was almost fashionable to emphasize Srila Prabhupada's position within ISKCON. There was a time when Srila Prabhupada's position in ISKCON was actually being eclipsed by a movement away from Srila Prabhupada being at the center of ISKCON. And well, many things, but one thing that I'd like to share today is that something that Guru Maharaj did, which I think in many ways saved ISKCON, was that he brought ISKCON back to focus on Srila Prabhupada. And he did it at a time when many people were upset with him trying to do that. He did it at a time when there was opposition in different forms, some gross, some subtle. But he was undeterred because his life had always been dedicated to Srila Prabhupada. He didn't know anything other than Srila Prabhupada. And he made it a point. And I remember one of my Vyas Puja offerings to him was, I felt that one of the greatest gifts that he'd given me was he'd given me faith in Srila Prabhupada in a way which I don't think I could have received otherwise had he not done that. It was so profound, his faith in Srila Prabhupada. And I don't say it flippantly, that I do feel he saved ISKCON in that sense, because I think had ISKCON gone down the route and the path that it was seemingly going down, it would have been tragic. And I think one point that Guru Maharaj would constantly emphasize to his, not just his disciples, but in classes, in initiations, in so many other forums, was that Srila Prabhupada is the preeminent Shiksha Guru of ISKCON and all the devotees within ISKCON forever. Others may come and give class and write books and do many wonderful things, but Srila Prabhupada is the center. And by keeping our focus on Srila Prabhupada, he would explain that that's how we can retain the unity within ISKCON. Otherwise, ISKCON will become factious. It will split and splinter, because everybody will be focused on their own spiritual masters. And there's a natural human conditioning which, drives us in that way, because it's based on our own false ego. But he would emphasize this need for us to focus always on Srila Prabhupada. And I think in my eyes, that was a truly profound contribution, which I don't think even today has been fully recognized. But I think in time it will be. And yeah, I'll stop there. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Could I just respond to Naveen Krishna Prabhu, please? Sure. My humble request, today's actually Shivaratri, the Shravan Shivaratri. My humble request is to keep Bhakti Charu Swami alive amongst all of us. We should make it mandatory. that once a year we should do this program every year. That's my humble request.
Thank you. Hopefully we can. We pray that we can, even if it's a small group of us, for sure. So I'd like to invite now Radhika Ranjan Prabhu to close off this lovely memorials that we've put together. Thank you so much again, Sri Radha Raman Prabhu, and all those others that have, and Sandaman Krishna Prabhu also for doing what you did. Really appreciated it. But also thank you to everyone that spoke throughout this evening. It really meant a lot to those that may have not spent so much time with Bhakti Charu Maharaj. It's an insight to what he was like and all the lovely qualities that he showed constantly. So without further ado, Radhika Ranjan Prabhu, if you are there.
Hare Krishna. Can you hear me?
Yep.
And we can chant Srila Prabhupada's pranams together. Namah Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Swami Namaste Saraswati Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Astyatyanishitaye Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhaktavinda. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Vaishnav Thakur, Jaya Vaishnav Vaishnav Thakur, Vaishnav Thakur, Vaishnav Thakur, Jaya Vaishnav. Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Hari Bol, Nitai Gaura Hari Bol. His Holiness Bhakti Charu Swami Maharaj ki jai, Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Gaur Premanande Hari Hari Bol, Jai Vancha Kalpa Tarupyasya, Kripa Sindhu Vyevacha, Patitanam Pavanebhyo, Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha.
Thank you so much, Radhika Ranjan Prabhu. Thank you everyone that has spoken today. It's been really inspiring and very, very, very sweet to hear all of these different memories. I'm sorry to anyone that wasn't able to speak. We had very limited time, but I'm sure in any Sangha that you're part of or within any groups of association of devotees, I'm sure they'd love to hear all the things that you may want to share. So don't stop sharing. That's how we keep remembering Bhakti Charu Maharaj, by speaking of those elevated devotees with other devotees. Thank you all for joining today. On behalf of Pandavasena, thank you so much. And we hope to connect with you all very soon. Hare Krishna.